Okay, everybody, this is Smart Witness 1, and I'm going to go over to Twitter and see if I'm doing there. I'm doing, whoop, didn't want that. I'm doing a test to see how this thing is going to work for future live webcasts. Okay, we go over to Twitter. And we don't have any people yet. Well, okay, we do not have any viewers. Everything seems to be going fine. Don't. Okay, whoever came in, bear with me. All I'm doing is I'm running a test, and I want public because I want to try and see if the counter's going to work. Um, Eventually, once I get the bugs worked out of this thing, I'm going to start a scheduled blog, probably starting tomorrow night. Um, okay, we got two people in here. What I'll do is I've got Twitter open, so if you can't comment on the comment line here on YouTube, you can go ahead and comment here on my Twitter, and I'll be able to pick it up as an incoming message. Um, I've been streaming for quite a long time, and most of it was mobile. I did have another setup, and I went offline for a while, and then I started up again recently. Okay, very good. I appreciate that. This is Zion 2343. Hi, Atlas. Yeah, I'm just trying to get the bugs worked out of this, and I'm only showing an image right now because I don't have the camera hooked up yet. Um, I've been trying to go live for quite a while, but the um, last couple times I tried it, it's been really bad. Okay, so now that we got that part worked out. Um, because the whole idea, what I'm going to be doing is I'll have both a chat here on my YouTube, and I'm also going to have it over on Twitter, so you can kind of chat either on YouTube or Twitter or both. Um, this way, it gives us a little bit of interactivity. Um, because what I'm going to be doing is eventually I'm going to be covering live events from the scene, such as when Phil McConnell gets extradited to Florida. I'm going to be going down there for the primary trial. I'll be calling the courthouse after the first of the year to get details on what I need to do to get access to their press room down there and to live stream from there. I also am going to do a live stream from the Orange County Courthouse a little bit sooner than that to test the system out again on the laptop. I'll be doing my live streams when I'm on the road, either on both on my phone and on my laptop. With the phone, I can live stream um, to Twitter Periscope or through OBS through to YouTube. I haven't tested the phone out on YouTube yet because in order to web stream on YouTube, I have to have 1,000 subscribers, and I'm a little over halfway there. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to 1,000, but if I do, I'll be able to live stream directly from wherever on location I use and over my mobile. Otherwise, I'll have to revert to my laptop, which gets around the 1,000 subscriber limit or threshold, I should say. Live stream keeps, or YouTube keeps changing their requirements, and because of that, it's kind of hard to do anything. I'm curious. I'm just going to do a little exploring here. Let me, because I got multiple windows open. I'm going to go over to YouTube and see what's going on. And yeah, good. It's showing up that I'm live streaming. That's cute. And let's see. Well, Glow did something an hour ago. Oh, this is cute. So let me bring up Glow. And
all right, good evening, folks. Welcome.
Shut up, asshole. I don't want you right now. Have you in a minute. Now, let's see. I'm going to try something here. Oops. It must be I have to do it over here. Add a scene. Window capture. Nope. Alright, now, it's kind of hard to show you what I'm doing. What I'm trying to do is bring up, alright, it says I can add the browser. Okay, how the hell do I add a browser? I have not used OBS all that much, so I don't know how to add a browser to my live stream. Create new, yeah. Alright, let's try it this way. Alright, let's try it this way.
All right, good evening, folks. Welcome to
This is neat.
Kirkslaw Corner Friday Night Fun Night. And over there is Christopher Hallett, CEO of E-Claws. How you doing, brother?
Hey, brother, what's going on, man? End of another long, let's see, that'd be LAW, long ass week, if you want to make a law joke out of that. So,
right?
It is what it is, you know. When we can make a law funny, we'll make a law funny out of it.
That's right.
It is Friday Night Fun Night, so, you know, why not?
Right. Sometimes on Friday Night Fun Night, we play tricks on people.
Alright, what did I...
Well, you know, things like pentagon and octagon and how you put that clerical error and mistake in the paperwork, and you know.
I mean, we do that shit on purpose just to screw with them?
Yep.
Alright, I'm trying to figure out how the hell to pause this
clerical
thing.
error and mistake. And
well, you know,
some people actually believe that we meant that, but
right.
I guess the joke's on them because it was Friday Night Fun Night and it was all a joke.
Oh, really?
Exactly my point. It's the whole reading means reading thing, you know. That's been a long-standing joke here on this show for how long now? Oh, God.
A year or so?
Oh.
Well, I don't know, not quite
It's
a
like,
year.
you know, get with the program, I suppose.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah, the funny thing is I can't turn this off.
Yeah, well, let's see here. Why on God's green earth is this bad rascal
Let me try.
letting me... Aha. Here we are. Let's see. Yes, we got a new PowerPoint for everybody tonight. So, 3 guesses who was responsible for the bulk of that. So, that's all right. We will. Uh-oh. saying we're having fun. We're having trouble displaying this video.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well. Yeah, you know how the algorithm is. Don't you dare tell the truth, you bastard.
Right? How dare you put that out there?
Don't you dare send an email. Send an email. Ooh. That's like 50 lashings with a wet noodle or something nowadays, isn't it? Jesus.
Oh, that's how I do it. Okay. Well, that's going to look weird when it comes up. Why is it strange? I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I got out of it. Now I'm retrying to see.
All right, good evening, folks.
Well,
welcome to.
I see what it
First
does. It
Law Corner
resets the
Friday
URL.
Night Fun night.
It just started it
Over
all
there's
over again.
Christopher Hallett, CEO of eClaws. How you doing, brother?
What I'm trying to
Hey,
figure
brother,
out.
what's going on, man? End of another long, let's see, that'd be LAW, long ass week, if you want to make a law joke out of that. So,
All right, what it does is it shuts it off that way. And so if I come back over here and hit YouTube. Okay, and what I did is I see I've got a frozen stream, or a frozen screen, I should say. I'm not sure why that is. All right, let me try this. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it would help if I went to downloads. TIM. Okay, that'll work. Bring him over here. Yeah, I got it off the live stream of those two clowns. All I'm trying to do right now is figure out. This works a little bit like my film editor. Okay. Now, what it's not doing is, for some reason, the image over on the screen is not changing. All I'm getting is these guys. Huh. That's strange. It froze the frame, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Oh well. Yeah, Agent 19, that was a brilliant thing you did. You know a heck of a lot more about the law than I do, and I don't know that much. I was kind of curious as how I came up in that, because I listened to the recording, and Kirk's end is very poor quality. No, I did not go into his live stream. I've been trying to get the system up and running, and as you see, I'm having a little bit of trouble. I'm using OBS, and I've got a new scene on here to put up, and I added it, or it's kind of... No, I don't want a new one. And it's kind of stuck. I got the image of these two yo-yos up on my YouTube portion of it, and I can't seem to get rid of it. Well, yeah, it was necessary for you to do it because the problem with these people is they seem to think that we're all, you, me, and Monograph are part of some organized thing, and they don't understand that we're all doing this stuff on our own, that we do not have a leadership system. And I'm new to the game. I haven't been part of this crowd with you and Monty and everything because my dealings with Tim Holmseth go back almost 11 years. And, well, I hope we would be buddies someday. But, well, that's exactly it. They seem to think that we had this big coordinated effort when we don't. It's everybody doing their own thing towards the same goal, and that is to expose the fraud and the lies of these people, as well as to come to the aid of Kim, who has gotten, mixed up in something she has no wish to be mixed up in. Kim is not really social media savvy. She only got involved briefly because of the Haley Cummings case, and she doesn't understand a lot of the nuance to go on. And no, you're not going to stop any speculation. I mean, it goes on and on. You can tell them until you're blue in the face that no, you're incorrect. This is the wrong information. We just know each other because we watch each other videos or what have you. And it's not going to do any good. These are conspiracy theorists. They believe in the wild stuff, like that they're members of some Pentagon pedophile task force, which is completely bogus because they don't understand how the government works and so on. And so we get stuck with this odd situation where just because I go up and make a video criticizing Field McConnell or Kirk Pendergrass, they all seem to think that I'm some spokesman or we're working as a group or however the hell they frame it, and that's not the way things go. We are just a bunch of people that are concerned about the fraud and abuse that's going on the internet. I gotta take care of something real quick. I'll be right back, and then I have to continue to figure out what's going on with the system. So, be right back. No, I'm fine, and I'm on the air. Okay, now, see if I can go ahead and figure out what's going on here. The book that Tim did is really gross. Matter of fact, if I had been prepared to this, I've got 2 hard copies of that book, and what I did is I did a reading when I first started out of Tim's Hell is the introduction, as he calls it, and you're right, it's pretty disgusting. And I've also been going through, I'm getting transcripts of the court that nobody has access to quite yet. I realize, Agent, that you said it was a open hearing and that certain aspects of it are not available to the general public. That's partially correct because of my association, as it were. I'm able to get a little bit more material, and I'm going to be doing the series that I'm going to get around to whenever I get the system all straightened out. Is going to have to do with that portion that nobody has seen yet. Plus, I'm going to be reading some of the stuff that Montecraft didn't want to read because of the language. But it has to, I think, be brought out as to how explicit this guy is in sending letters of this kind to a woman. Now, I'm going to be doing a little multitasking here because I'm trying to figure out how to get this image off my screen. And why is that not going over to... Well, alright, I just managed to have a big blank up on my thing there. That's correct, Agent 19. They didn't put the exhibits in the original injunction, but she did submit them to the court, and I have the evidence that she did not, that are not showing, because I was sent everything that has to do with her. Oh. Okay, you guys are getting an image, and I'm not. For some reason, my preview screen here is, I can't get this. Oh, that's weird. I can't get their live stream off my screen. You guys are able to see everything, but I can't because I can't get this damn thing off my screen. Let me go over to my... I want to see something. Okay, well, that's interesting. It's showing his... I brought up my Twitter account and I see the image. So let me play around with this a little more. Okay, yeah, I just switched it over, so that's why you're getting the black screen. There seems to be a latency in OBS going to YouTube, and thus the blank screen comes up, and now we'll probably get the picture back up again. Now over on mine, I'm going to have to use this as a monitor, and well, my blink, for whatever reason, I get the chat, but I don't get... Okay, let me try something. See if I can... Yep, it comes through. Yeah, that's strange how that works. The only thing is, I'm not getting an image on my... I'm not getting anything at all on my page. Okay. That's weird. No, I'm not stressed. See, this is a test. What I'm doing is I'm working the bugs out of the system, kind of a crash and burn thing. And it's kind of interesting because I got the chat going on both my YouTube studio and my YouTube account at the same time. What I'm doing is I'm just not getting anything on my display, which is strange. Don't understand why that's happening, but it's no big deal. Because as long as I'm getting something out, the only thing I got to try and figure out is why I've got a frozen image on the YouTube monitor I have. It's got their live stream over the top of my test image, and even though I've got Tim Holmseth over on the right, which is weird altogether, but at least I'm able to do the chat part. That's a big help because I can do that much. And my goodness. Hello, everybody. All right, I'm going to close that out. So basically, this has turned into a podcast. Well, I don't think Pendergrass likes being confronted by somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. They put out all this gibberish that they're hoping it's going to be so much above anybody's head they're not going to question it. He throws terms around to show how smart they are. They figured nobody's going to pay attention to the terms, like knowing the difference, like knowing what a tort is. And they're just going to say, oh, he must know what he's talking about. He's got all this fancy language in his vocabulary. And if you try and get him to buckle down and give a true meaning of what a tort is, he'd fall apart, which he did, Agent, when you went after him. This is the thing I like about all this, is that finally there's somebody that can intelligently debate Kirk and Chris and point out that they have no idea what they're talking about, and that because what they're doing is actually going to make it worse for Kirk Pendergrass, it's going to make it worse for him, but it's going to make it worse for Field in the end, because they're just making it so that he's guaranteed going to Florida. There's no way I can see that he's going to get out of that. They have not, as far as I know. Matter of fact, I'm going to check that. They have not set the extradition back, and I would expect that they're probably going to wait until after he gets out of solitary before they do something. Because I imagine there's going to be another, let's see, WI. No, I didn't want. I already know what Wisconsin is. It's not what I want. Excuse me. Guess I gotta type it out more. Okay, K-CERS, Wisconsin court system. They are a little bit laggy when they put up their court records up there. It usually takes 24 hours before they put something up, and this being late on a Friday night, they probably aren't going to do anything until Monday, if there's any change. So let's see, here we go, McConnell. Nope, the last... No, they haven't gone beyond the 4th yet. So all they've got is an outline to extend the time limit, so we probably aren't going to hear anything for a while. Yeah, his foreclosure is the 23rd. Let me go back. That's the one ending in 98. I can't even begin to pronounce the name of that bank. Last entry is on the 10th, showing that it's going to be at December 23rd at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. So that means probably about 4 hours later we'll learn. I would suspect that within 30 days of the 23rd, they're going to kick everybody out. What's going to happen is he didn't go for a short sale, so the bank's just going to take the thing over and sell it at auction, foreclosure auction. I don't know what the system is up there for that, but I know that the bank and the IRS are having a back and forth because the IRS put a lien on the house and they want the back taxes. Usually what happens in a case like that is the house is put up for sale and then they just give the money to the IRS that is owed on the house. And that'll probably affect what the bank is asking for the house if they do the auction route. Yeah, the that's one thing I notice generally with arguments that you get in with people. If somebody comes up against an argument, instead of saying I don't know, they'll just change the subject. Uh, the cars might go through the IRS auction because what happens is the chattel, which is what you call cars, furniture, equipment, and so forth, is subject to the IRS. The only thing the bank owns is anything that the bank has mortgaged. I understand it's a house, 3 acres. I don't know if any of the outbuildings are part of it, but the bank gets the house and then all the outlying parcels, because there's about 4 or 5 different properties. The IRS is going to be picked up on them and picked up by the IRS, and they're going to do that. Have 6 months to a year to do what? Um, Atlas, I'm trying to understand the thread we're going here. From what I understand, this is the final stages of the foreclosure. We're going to be getting something here after the first of the year as to the next step. I don't know if it would or not, as far as what the mortgage insurance does with the IRS. But if it turns out that the mortgage insurance covers the IRS, this will help the bank out because then they have more equity in the house and they would be able to recoup their losses a little bit faster that way, because the lower the price, they generally try to get either fair market value of the house or at least enough to cover their uh, equity that they had tied up in the house, and then the rest is profit. Okay, I haven't seen the realty description of the foreclosed property yet. I've seen it on the house and property that surrounds the house. That's part of the foreclosure. It's the house itself that the bank is getting into is a house, and I don't know if it brings it up here. See, let me read down through this. Bear with me a second. Ugh, that ain't gonna work. Okay, it does. All right, it doesn't show it on the court record at all. It shows us the entry for the 11th, which goes into Denise McConnell, and she didn't reply. And so, because she didn't reply, um, it's going forward. Now, these docket things in order. I would have to pay for all the paperwork that's in these summaries. So, what I'm reading is we've got the IRS and the state of Wisconsin are both down as defendants in the case, which is kind of interesting. Oh, yeah, they're stupid. And Phil McConnell's stupid because he got involved in the situation anyway. The only one that's managed to come out so far is Tim Holmseth, and as long as he stays out of the state of Minnesota, he's basically a free bird. Um, he goes back to Minnesota. That's, I don't know as if they even want him back. They'd probably like him to stay put so they don't have to put up with him. Because he's filed, I've lost count on the number of lawsuits he's filed. It's somewhere between 20 and 30, and he has sued just about everybody in northwest Minnesota. It's pretty bad when you have to sue the National Weather Service because you can't be a janitor anymore. I mean, good Lord. That would be interesting to find out, is if they are legally married. I know he got divorced from the other one, but this one I don't know. And it's pathetic that he doesn't know anything about satire and a joke to know that nobody's going to be flying drones to look in his bathroom with a property as remote as that is. Well, the funny story is that there's a couple guys in Plum City that fly drones, basically for a hobby. If you go over on YouTube and you type in drones Plum City or something like that, you'll actually see the guy flying the drones around. There's a park in Plum City that he flies out of, and he flies the things all over the place. So they probably heard those drones and thought they were being surveilled or something. I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, they're definitely going down because people are complaining to the Federal Trade Commission because what they're doing is fraud. It's wire fraud. They're collecting money saying that they're agents or representative of this pedophile task force, and that's collecting money over the internet on false pretenses, and that's classic wire fraud. It's a felony. So, I that's why I put up my latest videos for everybody that feels like it, they can call up the Federal Trade Commission and give them a hack. And the various bar associations can be called on E-clause because they're clearly representing themselves as attorneys. I look for as time goes on that Kirk is eventually going to find something else to scream about and somebody to support or whatever have you. And Field McConnell is just going to fade away because he's, once people realize that he can't do anything. Yeah, that's my favorite line. What do you expect from a wannabe attorney with a mugshot? I love your videos. Well, anybody that does a little bit of basic research and how extradition works and everything else would find the same information. It's a pretty routine procedure. He has to go to Florida because that's where the charges have been pressed and that's where the victim lives. So it's just commonplace in these things. Kirk has a small house adjacent to an industrial complex. And what's funny, I wish I had the video working on this because he got himself on the news out there. He apparently spotted a test bomb thing. I think they use them to test bazookas or simulate explosions. And somebody found these things in the driveway of this business that's next door to Kirk's house, took it into the business, and it blew up on him. And so he got himself on the news talking about how he saw this thing in the driveway, and all of a sudden it wasn't there anymore, and these guys blew it up. And, he seemed to know what it was since he's an ex-Marine. And I'm always wondering if Kirk actually owned the thing and he dropped it. And when they took it in and blew it up, he just figured he'd play, I don't know anything about it, and got himself out of a pickle that he would have got into if they ever found out that he owned that particular device. If I ever get the system working, I'll put it up. But that's kind of funny. I can bring it up on audio, but I can't bring the video up, I don't think. Let me see. Get out of this. And let's see, how did I find that the last time? No, I'll just do it this way. Sit there and go down through. Shoot. I don't know how I found that story the last time. It just popped up. What the hell's this? Okay, who's Anna von Reitz? Says Anna von Reitz wrote something about Kirk Pendergrass, and she said, let me point something out to you. Nothing in the federal code pertains to states and people except those few portions of legislation published in the Federal Record, not the Federal Register, and only those portions published in the congressional records that are in alignment with the original intent of the constitutions are valid. That means that 8% of all acts of Congress have portions that actually apply to actual Americans. I have no idea what she's talking about. Anna von Reitz, R-E-I-T-Z. It's something she wrote to Kirk, and I don't understand any of this. It's like they're arguing a variant of the same theory. No, this is... Oh, that's who that is. Okay. Alright, well. As it looked like she was going down the same road. Okay, here we go. Garden City. Okay, this is audio only, but get...
Well, Brent, Garden City police say the person was walking along here when they saw the device on the ground, and they picked it up not knowing what it was and then brought it over there to Henderson Wheel and Trailer Supply where they work. And police say that's when the device exploded.
Like a big tractor trailer tire, just boom. It was a big boom.
Kirk Pendergrass lives next door to where the explosion happened. He says he often hears noises coming from the businesses nearby, but this was different.
It's definitely loud enough when I was sitting inside the house that it was, oh, yeah, that's kind of a big boom.
He says shortly after, he walked outside and saw this. Emergency vehicles filled the street he lives on, and not just local police. The FBI, ATF, and military personnel were here too.
You know, I've lived here in this house here about 8 years, lived in this town for 30 some years, and this is pretty crazy. This is the first time thing we've had big like that, you know.
4 people were hurt in the explosion, but police say none of their injuries are serious. Investigators tell us this is what's to blame, an M21 simulator round. I called the Idaho National Guard, and they tell me that the M21 device here is meant to replicate the sound and the look of tank fire. The device itself is no bigger than this sheet of paper and contains 1.5 milligrams roughly of gunpowder. It's meant for military training and is otherwise harmless. But exploding inside of a building is a different story. A reminder to never pick up what you don't recognize.
watch your step, watch where you're going, and if it's something looks out of place and unattended, like bags laying somewhere that's nobody's around, yeah, don't touch them, call somebody.
And I asked the Idaho National Guard if the device found here belonged to them, and they say that all the M21s that they have on their base have been accounted for. So now we just wait for police to investigate and find out where this device came from. And as new details are uncovered, we'll have them for you here on air and on idahonews.com. Live in Garden City, Abigail Taylor, KBOI 2 News.
Take a look at this. If you're heading up Bogus Basin to enjoy some fun in the snow, watch out. There are construction.
Now, I'm just kind of curious if they ever found out what the situation was with that device. I may give them a call and find out, because that was in April of last year. That would be funny if, it turned out to be his and he dropped it. But what the image will show is that he lives in a small white cottage, if you could call it that, and he's got all kinds of pallets and everything laying out in the front yard. So he's definitely in the middle of an industrial area over there. That was, so he's not spending whatever he makes on his law practice on housing. Which, no to both from what I understand. I think he's divorced. And I think part of the problem he has with Kim and with lawyers in general is they're smart, blind females. So that's something I really haven't looked into yet. Yeah, you could call it that, because I brought it up on Google. And it's, of course, I should talk. I live in a 30-year-old mobile home, so, I can't, I can't pull him for that too much. But, it is what it is, I guess. But he may not be living in that shanty for long. May find himself with 3 squares and a cot again. Oh, okay. Well, that explains that. So he's single with no kids. Well, with all those women that Field and Timothy got chasing around after him, maybe he could pluck one of them. Or get one of the 6 wives that Preacher Dan disposed of. I mean, they're, ooh, big shot lawyer. Yeah, let's go marry that dude. Yeah, it's kind of funny. They got, Phil basically has the Heartbreak Hotel going on there, and all these people are basically sponging off him. And it's like I wrote, there's a lot of tools there to tempt a mechanic and all those antique cars. I would be worried if I was Field. Well, circumstances are what they are. I mean, the place, it's a nice little mobile home. It's, the electricity works, the heating works. I got an air conditioner, so it's comfortable. Got food in the refrigerator. That's all anybody really wants. I have a reliable car to get me from here to there. So I'm not griping about it. You take it one day at a time. That's all you can do. But my primary concern for getting involved in all this stuff is because I don't like, number one, I don't like women like Kim being victimized by people like Timothy Homseth and Field McConnell, and people out there that believe in what they believe in are just forking their money over for nothing that's any good. It's really too bad. And I see this all the time. There's all kinds of scams on the internet. And there's hundreds of thousands of people out there that just like to skim off of people that, they want something to believe in, or they trust whoever it is they see on the internet or read their writings, and the next thing you know, they're just pissing their money away. It's really sad, you know. And then you got these foreign people doing these things. It's really turned into a bad situation on the internet anymore. But my ultimate goal with Homeseth is to get him to leave Kim alone and to get him to face justice for what he's done to her all these years. And now Field McConnell got in the middle of it. And that's the only issue I have with Field McConnell is he got involved in all this. And if he had just backed away from it when he had the opportunity with it, I could care less about Field McConnell. My primary problem with him is he is doing the same thing to Kim that Timothy Homeseth is. He's tormenting the woman, and they just, can't have that. I sure as heck like to know how I could get that off my monitor. That's strange. I'm gonna get into this and try to do a little bit more on getting this so I can do a decent presentation. And just for whatever reason, the studio for YouTube, the little screen thing up there at the top, is the image that I had of the stream is stuck and I can't get it on. But oh well, that's anyway. And I'm going to see. I have the ability anyway of at least going into see if Nimble Nuts has done anything in his Facebook. No, I don't want Astro. Go over to Facebook. Oh, he's going to sing like a canary. Because Timothy is the least of his problems. Number one, he's in felony stalking, which pushes it up to several years in the Broward County Jail. Now, so far, Timothy is in on this Robert Horton War Castles thing. I have no idea what that's about. So far, I got 23 comments on it. There's not much going on there. Yeah, it's 1 to 5 years is what I would figure he's going to get. And I don't think he's going to get time served. Because the time that he's serving right now is in an out-of-state prison. And so but he's going to come out. He's going to come out broke because his house will be gone. IRS is going to get everything. If people don't steal all those cars from him, it'll be a miracle because there's a lot of older cars in that system, and you can go to places out of state, like in Texas, and you can get a new title made even if the car is titled. And some of those older cars were manufactured before titles came about. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Well, that's the thing, Agent 19, they don't think. And that's why Field McConnell's where he's at. David Lee's going to wind up in the same boat if Kim decides to, take him down. Because he's just, it's like a whack-a-mole. One goes down, the other comes up. Oh, it was both educational and hilarious because I learned a lot about where the common law came from and a little bit more about the Federalist Papers, which I did not know. So it was interesting to watch those clowns go down, but Agent 19 knows a hell of a lot about American law and how all this stuff came about, and it was fascinating to listen to that part of it. Uh, you know, I like Agent 19's monologues because he points out with facts and evidence where everybody is wrong. And when you get someone that knowledgeable in the field, it helps. I'm just another guy that I run around poking around on Google to get what little I know out there. But he's the one to go to for a lot of detailed and accurate information on a lot of things. It's really interesting to listen to him talk. Well, I've got copies of those DVDs. But basically, what he did is he took the recordings and he spliced them. I don't know why Kim talked to him. That was a mistake on her part. She just should have. I don't think she realized that everybody was recording everybody. It was kind of a strange situation going on down here. But the problem is that Holmseth just got obsessed with Kim, and he looked for anything he could think of to try and make her guilty of something that she's not. And that's what happened. That was amazing, Agent 19. I couldn't believe it when those two started arguing with each other. I would love to know what happened after they got off the air. Because Kirk was getting pissed. Because Hallett was slamming him down, trying to point out that he's wrong, and Kirk wouldn't have it. And I just thought, geez, don't these people realize they're live on the air? Yeah, I can see that because, you were very, very versed in civil law. That there are differences between the two fields, and that's what these guys don't understand. They're coming at this from criminal law as well, and it's not. This is a civil injunction that was posted, and when you go into contempt of court, then it flops over into a misdemeanor contempt of court, which happened to Tim. It's what got him arrested the first 4 times, and now it's what's got him on the run is misdemeanor contempt. Phil jumped up into felony stalking, and that takes it out of the civil arena and puts it in the criminal arena. And that's what these two don't seem to understand. Yeah, I thought Zoom was live. Oh, of course. Yeah, Tim's got a temper. I remember watching the tape where he got into an argument with Tim, and he was getting mad, and I was a little surprised he didn't lash out and do something. But I guess it's because he had people around him. He had to control himself. Yeah. Let's see what's going on. All right, close that out. Whoops. Yeah, the guy in the recording, he's basically a bounty hunter down here in Florida, and he's quite a character. And Kim fired him because things just didn't work out. They remained friends to some extent, but that whole thing, she just wished she'd never gotten involved in that because it's been more trouble than it was worth. She wound up getting a client from hell, which is every lawyer's nightmare. All right, I'm going to retweet that. Whoever's running this field, McConnell is a fraud. It's kind of interesting take he or she takes on everything. I don't know how Zoom works, so I'm kind of curious. I heard it was private, so I was kind of curious how Agent 19 got in there. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, I gotta answer Wanda. All right, I answered that one. There's a lot of things they don't know that people can figure out. Well, I'm wondering if Phil didn't know Steele and somehow found Tim through Steele. I mean, they don't live that far apart. I think it's like a 6-hour drive to Tim's house from Plum City or something. But you know, these guys seem to attract each other. Yeah, who knows? Randy may have introduced them. Well, that's, the Miss Piggy thing. I mean, it's obvious to anybody if they did a little research that it was an adult that played the part in that thing. I mean, it's done all the time. I don't, but it was just something, this is a perfect example of how Tim Holseth will take something mundane and make a big thing out of it. And I think I saw where he said did I read correctly that he thought that John Benet Ramsey was under the Miss Piggy mask or something? I mean, I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird how he went about that. I've been told I sound like Kermit the Frog. And way back when I used to do my live streams, people used to call me the Kermit the Frog. I've got my octave is a little weird on my voice. Wow, I wish I had Agent 19's voice. He's perfect for a radio. He'd make the perfect commentator on a radio. Excuse me. Oh, Randy's going to be in for some real bad news here in about the next 2 weeks. Just a little inside information I had, but Randy is she's going to have a Malex moment coming up pretty soon. She doesn't realize the degree yet. Yeah, well, I noticed that with the great Agent 19 debate. They were all over the map. He went down one road and they kept wanting to go off and somewhere else, and Agent 19 had to keep bringing them back. It was really interesting to watch. It's kind of like the way a lawyer works in a courtroom. If the witness starts straying off, they say, no, I didn't ask that. I asked this. Yeah. Well, Tim Holmseth has a habit. If you get somebody that he disagrees with them, you start going to Tim saying, "No, you're wrong," and all this. He'll come at you. That's how I got messed up with him. I started questioning some of the things he was doing back in 2009, and he came down on me like a ton of bricks because of that. Yeah, Atlas, they definitely have the same disease. They're it's just they latch onto this stuff, and I don't know why. But it's the same personalities generally that are behind this kind of stuff. Calling me Kerr Mert. Okay. Yeah, I think Westall is seeing Tim going off the deep end. She's getting concerned that he's getting darker and darker in his theories, and I think it's making her very uncomfortable because she has a very specific um, topic line that she goes down, and he is going off into a totally different direction. Q is fake. I never hacked. That's such a weird thing. I've yet to figure it out. But that whole Q business is strange. Oh, thanks for the punny hugs. I'm not as attuned to the modern internet as people might think. I'm still learning all these emojis and these little faces that pop up every once in a while. So, if a little bit of it goes over the 69-year-old's head, you just have to kind of learn me a little bit on lingo. Yeah, I've noticed that. Now, in the past, Tim has not cursed all that much, but anymore he curses like a truck driver, and believe me, we curse a lot. If I ever got going, you have to plug your ears. No, you're correct on that, Shark. What Tim does is he'll take current events and he'll shape his narrative to current events. It's a kind of an outward spiral that started back. Uh, it can all go right back to the Haley Cummings case. Um, it started out with Kim. It migrated to local law enforcement. Then uh, Pam Bondi, state attorney at the time, it expanded to the governor of the state of Florida, and then he just went on. And then he was saying that they were coordinating with the people up in Minnesota that he was having problems with. And it just kept ballooning from there. You can actually go back, and it's like a fish story that got bigger every time it was sold. He just adds all this stuff to it. Because back in 2009, I don't think there was anybody discussing the Ukraine. I mean, I followed it a little bit because I'm a bit of a news junkie, but they declared their independence from Russia, and that's about the only thing you heard about it. But now, Tim is all over it like he's known about it for 10 years, and that's completely wrong. He's on Facebook. He does do a little bit of Vimeo, but he seems to headquarter on Facebook, and he also has his two blogs, but he's concentrating on the one blog. But in order to get the multimedia out, he has to go through Facebook. And it's like Randy and Timmy are piggybacking off of each other because those are the two primary presences to watch to see what's going on between the two of them. And speaking of Randy, she decided she wants to try and sue Chad Cater, which, you know, he's paying the price for getting involved with Tim. Ray, Tim Holseth has a misdemeanor warrant out for his arrest because he failed to appear in court. And it's only good within the state of Minnesota. So if he stays in Wisconsin or stays out of the state of Minnesota, he's likely never to be brought back to court. You know, and you know, if he makes a mistake to go see his parents who live in the same town and somebody happens to see him, they'll arrest him on the spot. Yeah, I've talked to Chad a couple times. He is concerned about Tim, but he says it's gotten to the point where he's given up on him because this has gotten so bad, and now they're just ripping him apart. They've gone and doxed all his personal business and put it up on the internet, and so he's had it with them. Have fun at work. Yeah, I think Tim is finding people that have the power to do something about him, and it's only a matter of time that I think he's going to wind up getting into felony status, and then he'll wind up in jail because he's committing felonies left and right, and I think it's going to be a short period of time before a felony warrant's put out on him. Hey Ruby, thanks for the comment. It's kind of logic. If you go back, he has sued everybody in that town. He sued the county sheriff. He sued his former employers. He even sued the National Weather Service. I mean, he files so many of these. They made him a vexatious litigant because of the number of lawsuits he filed. He cannot file another lawsuit in that city and county unless he has a bar certified lawyer do it for him. And it didn't help him to have Kirk Pendergrass show up in court. He basically body slammed Kirk Pendergrass and told him to shut the hell up. Yes, he is. He's committing wire fraud because what he's doing is he is saying that he is the spokesman for President Trump. He's like third in line. He's part of the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force. Now that means he's using false information in order to derive an income over the internet. That's wire fraud. And he's also violating the law with the Justice Department because he's pretending to be a federal agent, which is against the law. You can't be an agent, you can't be an employee, or any of this stuff. And that's 1 to 3 years for each count. And Timothy Holseth, Phil McConnell, Kirk Pendergrass, and Chris Hallett are all guilty of that. And so complaints have been made by multiple individuals to, first, the Federal Trade Commission, and second, to the Justice Department. And eventually, once the government wheels start rolling, I think we're going to see some people knocking at their front door that they don't want to talk to. And Agent 19, if you want to weigh in on any of this in case I'm wrong, I'd appreciate it. I'll be right back. Well, see, Kirk Pendergrass, K-Ran, can backpedal all he wants, but he's already made the statements. And what gets him into trouble is this loss prevention thing. And Chris Hallett doesn't. No. Atlas, no, because there aren't any. I have talked to the people over at the GAO because I'm familiar with the government contract process. And you have to have, they give you a form to fill out, tells exactly what you're going to do. And then this is part of the government record because the government would have to appropriate funds to pay him because it's government and they have to account for that. And that's all public information. You can go to them with his, the name of his business. If he's got a tax number, you can give him the tax number and they'll look up and they'll tell you if he's got a contract with the federal government. And the same is true of any state. This is all a matter of public record, and if you know how to look for it, you can find it. And E-Clause does not have a contract of any kind with the United States government. He doesn't have a contract with the state of Florida, and he does not have a contract with the state of Minnesota. So, he's telling people that he's got all this stuff, so that means that he is falsely stating that he is a contractor, employee, agent, or officer of the United States government, and that is a felony. And if he's collecting funds because he's doing that, then it gets into wire fraud. So that's what's killing them, is they are charging money and they are using on their resume that they have this loss prevention thing going, and they're reporting to the federal government their findings. That makes them an agent to the federal government or a contractor, and that's a felony. LLCs, you can, it costs $50 and you fill out a simple form and you can be an LLC. I was an LLC with my dealership. I had STI Auto Sales LLC. It's a limited liability corporation. It can be one individual or it can be three. It was me and my wife were the LLC. Very simple. Every once in a while you file a piece of paper, send it in, you sit down, have a cup of coffee, you have a meeting. That's all there is to it. And there's a two-step process actually in Florida. Reagan, I don't know if it'd fall under RICO or not. This is something that Agent 19 would have to weigh in on because he might know more than that than I do. It might bump up to RICO if there's enough activity and there's depending on how the money changes hands and stuff, but they're in pretty serious trouble just on the wire fraud portion of it. If he's a 501c3, I haven't been able to find it. You have to look that up, and that means a C3 means nonprofit, and there's an extra burden with the Internal Revenue Service when you're a 501c3. You have to file all kinds of paperwork showing where all that money went. What I was trying to get to before, Florida has something called the fictitious name statute, and what that means that if you create if you create a business where you're acquiring funds, whether it be a for-profit, not-for-profit, or non-profit, you have to register your name with the Department of Professional Regulation, I believe it is. I'd have to look it up. And I registered my website at one time in case I started doing PayPal, and I also registered my dealership through the fictitious name in the state of Florida. And if somebody were to go in there and look up, say, STI Auto Sales, they would find that I've got an expired certificate with the state of Florida because I no longer have that business. And it's the same, I think, MertWitness1.com, I think I had listed at one time for that in the event that I moved into the PayPal part of it, because then I'd have to go and get a federal tax number and pay taxes on anything that I brought in, or if I went to not for profit, I would have to do additional paper. I looked into all of this when I decided whether or not I was going to go into the internet as a business, and it's a pain in the neck. Let me real quick. I'll bring that up. You can see how that works. I haven't got this worked out to where I can bring the paperwork on screen. I have to read it off. Because what you do, if you go into Google and you go Florida, okay, Florida fictitious name search. It's fictitious name, division of corporations. It's actually myflorida.com, Sunbiz. So we bring it up. Search records. And you can search fictitious name by name. So we bring up E-CLAUSE and we do a search. Okay. They have not. Okay. E-Clause LLC is not listed as a fictitious name in Florida, so they're violating the law there. Because you're supposed to be, when you have a name of any kind, you have to register it with the Division of Corporations. So, whatever he's filed, he hasn't done it right, because E-Clause is not listed in the fictitious name list. Now, just out of curiosity, let me go back. Okay, to CHRISHALLETT. See what Mr. Hallett is here. Well, there's a Chris Hallett in Key Largo. He runs a flooring company. Huh. That's strange. Because Chris Hallett's not on the fictitious name either for his real estate business or anything. Because the only... Well, that's not even Hallett, that's Hart. Nope. Chris Hallett's not listed either. That's interesting. So I would like to know what the hell that piece of paper is that Chris Hallett has. Yeah, Homeowners Association will list as a nonprofit because what they're doing is they're acting, basically they take money and they disperse it, but they have to register with the state. They usually come up with a name like, can't think of the one they use up the road here, but if a homeowners association is collecting funds in order to maintain the subdivision, they have to file paperwork with the state of Florida and with the Internal Revenue Service, and it's all public information. So that surprises me. That's such a basic thing. Even a phony company, you could sit there and say, okay, I'm going to register E-Clause with the Division of Corporations, and, you know, I don't have to license anything. I can just say I'm E-Clause, I'm registered with the state of Florida Division of Corporations, and they haven't even bothered to do that. This is weird. I expected them to at least do that. I want to see something. I want to see if I'm still listed on here. Probably not. I've been out of business for quite a while. Huh. I'm still listed with the state of I'm still listed with the state of Florida. I'm listed twice because I changed my address. I'm status E, which I'm going to go in and see how I did that. Well, it expired. But I filed in 2010. It expired in 2015. Was never renewed. So if anybody goes into the Division of Corporations to check out my auto business, my name will come up. They just type in my car dealership, and my registration number's there. And let's see, there's a document filing. Okay. Yeah, that's my original application for when I filed with the Department of Corporations. So that's... Alright, I just lost everything. Where'd everything go here? Oh, I lost YouTube. I hit the wrong... See if I'm still on the air. Whew, thought I knocked myself off the air. Yeah, that's funny because oh, neat. I changed that. So I'll remember that one. I reloaded it and now I incur it. So let me move this out over here. What I'll do, just to show you how this works. See if this works this time. The letter, I went and looked that letter up, and it's some outfit over in Europe, and the judge isn't going to look at that. It'll get filed by one of the clerks. Okay. Bear with me here. All right. This will be a good way for me to test this system out. Let me go over here. Okay, no, that didn't work. Let's go over here. Well, it's aggravating. I don't know where the hell the picture went. Ugh, aggravating. Oh, let's see what we got here. Nope. Well, that's trying to figure out how I could do that. Hmm. Oh, I see. It didn't come up. All right, let me do it again. Okay, if you're able to find where it's actually listed as a nonprofit, he has to file paperwork with the IRS, and he also has to file paperwork that's public information so people can see whether it's a legitimate nonprofit or not. So that information should be publicly available. I just got to remember how to find it. I'm trying to figure out why this didn't. All right, there. Curious as to why. Kind of on a learning curve tonight here, folks. The old crash and burn testing system. Try that again. All right. Oh, that worked that time. Amazing. All right, then we go over here, add image. Why, that's strange. That darn thing, I've got it up on my well, I'm wondering. Now, Kirk is an auto mechanic, and I think he's making money off this E-Clause thing. He's one of the. He's probably a shade tree, or he's not even a licensed mechanic. Um, okay, so it's there, but why isn't it showing up in the? I'm trying to. Okay. All right. Let's see if this works. And yep, finally got it. All right. Okay, see how it happens here. I'd be curious to see if anybody can tell me if they see that document coming up. Yep, there it is. Yeah, I've got a serious lag time. This is when I got a license or put in the license for my dealership, and as you can see, this up here is the Florida Division of Corporations at the top. And then what you do is at the bottom you fill out your name and address. And all you're doing is registering a name. You're not registering yourself as a lawyer. You're not registering yourself as a business of any kind. You know, just because I put this STI Auto Sales up there doesn't mean I'm a licensed dealer. I have to have a separate license from the state of Florida to sell cars commercially. And all this does is this says that I'm identifying myself as STI Auto Sales. This way, if somebody does any communication or something with me that they have concern about, they can call the state of Florida and they say, well, somebody's representing himself as STI Auto Sales. How can I get a hold of this guy? And you put that in there and all this pops up. Because if you go down to the bottom portion of the form, and it'll pop up here in a minute. If you get down to the bottom portion of the paper, I don't know, my name and address shows up, and this EIN number, I'm supposed to have that, which I never, since I'm a car dealer, I didn't get into that. There it goes. Boy, I am extremely serious lag time on this. But when I got my license, this is what I had to show them. Or this is what I had to fill in. So if somebody were to Google or, go into the Department of Corporations and look that information up, they would come up with that. Now, I did that for Field McConnell. I did it for E-Clause, and I did it for Chris Hallett, and they are not on this list. So they're in violation of the law. Good night. I'm probably going to close out here in a little bit. This is basically, I now know that I can stream, so that helps. And I'm beginning to learn a little bit about this. I'm not sure if the lag time is coming from my monitor here, because it's coming to YouTube and then coming back to me again, or if you guys are getting the same. And apparently what's happening is, I don't know, that must be a queue or something. So anyway. But that's, so far so good. Now, what I'm probably not going to do when I close out, I'm not going to make a recording of this because this is just a test and it's incredibly sloppy. Now, I may come on again. I don't know if I'll come on tomorrow. I don't like to interfere with Monty because he usually comes on Saturdays, and I want to make sure that he keeps his following and I don't interfere with that. That's what I'm going to do, Ruby. I will be going down to the Orange County Courthouse probably next week with my laptop and the equipment that I use to live stream from the court, and it'll be a sampling of how I do this. I did this in the Casey Anthony case. They have a special room down there, and what you do is they have a XLR for your audio and BNC for your video. A little bit technical, I know. And that plugs into my laptop. And they have cameras that are run by the court in the courtroom. They're static, which means they're basically just looking at the judge and maybe at the... and if they decide to scan the courtroom, it's the judge's discretion. But there's usually a fixed camera looking at the judge and maybe one looking at the... looking out at the audience. So I'm going to go down there, and this way I can work my equipment to make sure everything's right. And I'm going to call down to the Broward County Courthouse and see what facilities they have down there, so that when I do start live streaming the hearings for Field McConnell, then I know I've got to take that particular equipment down. Now, if I don't have access to that equipment down there, what I'm going to do is I will broadcast from the front steps of the Broward County Courthouse. I will go in and view the hearing, take notes and everything, and then after the hearing's over, plus any verdict that comes out, I will announce that the minute I get out of the courtroom, go back on the air again and announce it. So I did this with a trial in Kentucky because it was a federal trial. In federal trials, they don't allow cameras in the courtroom and live broadcasting and so forth, so I had to view the case, make notes, and then when I came out of the hearing, I immediately went on the air and gave a summary of the case. That was a computer hacker from Kentucky, is interestingly enough, that he was charged under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, and he got 2 years in prison. And plus, he's no longer allowed on the internet, so that was a pretty interesting case up there. You know, right up in Agent 19's territory. So, oh, I can deal with them. They'll be fine because, you know, if they're not in jail by the time this goes to court, you know, I will be prepared for them when I get down there. I'm not going to, I'll just aim the camera at them and shoot. I'm not going to get in an argument with either one of them. Good night, Kara. Thanks for tuning in. As I continue to do this, hopefully I'll get this a little bit better. I'll have the camera hooked up the next time I come on the air. I'm going to keep an eye out and see when Monty goes on the air so I don't interfere with him. But it's going to be a test broadcast. I may do a simulcast and be monitoring his. At the very least, I'll be watching, be monitoring him maybe and stuff like that. I got a couple videos I got to upload. I got to get them done and uploaded, so that's part of what I need to do. But I decided that I fine-tuned this equipment and got the equipment part worked out, and now once I get used to OBS and figure out how to put the various things in that I need to put in, then I'm going to go there. But at least got the image part worked out anyway. That was good. That was good. Well, what they did in Minnesota is they basically went after the cops. Now, the one thing they're going to find down in Florida, especially if Daniel Lee tries to accost me in any way, is he will find himself behind bars because they just, you know, I would not advise them to do that in Broward County. They don't put up with this nonsense. I'm going to talk to the sheriff's department down there and let them know that in the event that somebody comes along that wants to accost me out of the courtroom, what my options are, and then they'll advise me accordingly. But I don't think they're going to allow too much to happen, and I don't think that they would want to create a commotion in a very public place like that, because this isn't some small town in a sparsely populated county. This is a heavily populated metropolitan area, very large courthouse with very high security. And they don't mess around. They're very used to high-profile stuff down there. Well, you know, Kirk might come down here, but I'm not going to talk to him or get in any kind of discussion with him. I'm just going to tell him, look, I'm down here to cover the case. If you want to argue law or whatever, you go on your channel and do it. Because I'm basically what it was known as a static reporter. I just report the case. I say he's either guilty, not guilty, so on and so forth. And, you know, those two can just go off into the wind someplace. And if they insist on causing a problem, I'll just file a criminal complaint and have them arrested. Because I'm not fooling with either one of them. I've never had a problem doing stand-ups anywhere, and I'm not about to start having it now. So, Well, that's up to Monty and agent if they want to come down. I know agent's very protective of his identity, so he may not um, show up. You know, they're welcome to. I'd love to talk to those two, but whatever they decide is up to them. But there are people there that are well known that like him that might be there as well. So we'll see how that goes. The cases depend on the decision of the media. If it's a high-profile case, local media will televise it. Now we have a couple high-profile cases here in Florida, and what they'll do is the local stations have they'll live stream them onto the websites and then let people know. They won't broadcast them over the air. So I would. This is the kind of trial I don't think the local stations are going to pick up on. And there's another Wild About trial does live streams from various courts, but this does not reach to a level to where I think they'll cover it either. And this is where I usually try to come in and do these cases because we get a lot. Like I said, one of my future projects is if there's anybody ever caught for being a pedophile or any crime against children and they have a trial in the Orlando court, I'm going to go down there and stream it, or at the minimum, I'm going to record it and then present it at a later time on this channel. So it's, basically what I'm doing right now is I'm getting prepared for next year. Getting the kinks worked out of the system, seeing, what my best options are as far as software for streaming, whether I'm going to use OBS or if I'm going to come up with something else. There's another piece of software I use that works a lot different. I'm more familiar with it than I might use. And that's going to be the next one I'm going to try. I've got to call the company and ask them if that particular piece of software has live streaming capabilities. And so, we'll go from there. Well, Ruby, it's a nice place to go. I would suspect that any hearing or trial with Field McConnell at the earliest is going to be in June or July. Because what's going to happen now, he's going to come out of solitary on the 25th or 26th. And it's then that the process for the extradition hearings will start. Because since he's incommunicado, so to speak, nothing can happen until he comes out of solitary. So they basically stop the clock. The 90-day clock is stopped. And so when the 21st or 25th of December comes, probably the day after Christmas, since it's a holiday, or even the following Monday, the clock will start up again for getting him through the hearing process, since he's determined to fight extradition. And then once his fight is over with, the judge will say, fine, pack your bags, you're going to Florida. And comes to Florida, he'll have to go before court again. They'll set a hearing date after the hearing, which hearings are basically housekeeping. And out he goes. Yeah, Fort Lauderdale is not far from Palm Beach. Yeah, Palm Beach and West Palm Beach, they're within a short drive of each other. So you could go to Palm Beach. I would think it would take about, but it's extremely heavy traffic down there, so it might take you a little bit of time to get over to the courthouse. The courthouse is in downtown Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, just for the hell of it, I'm going to bring up a map. Okay, Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, and then Lake Worth. Yeah, because let's see, we got Fort Lauderdale. Because Palm Beach and West Palm Beach is north of Fort Lauderdale. And Lake Worth, I would say it would take you anywhere from an hour and a half to come down 95 and then come in that way because it's, have a traffic situation. So, doesn't, it's kind of hard to read the scale on this because I've got it up on Google. Because, you're not going to be very far from there, and the court in Fort Lauderdale usually begins at 9 in the morning. And I would think something like Fields would probably be in the midday afternoon. And the docket, they'll announce trial dates and everything well ahead of time. So anybody that plans on coming down to Fort Lauderdale should be able to have enough time to plan ahead for any vacations, depending on what, how much advance warning you have to give your employer that you're going bye-bye for a couple days. Because I'm within driving distance. I'll be driving down from my house. Probably have to find a place to stay down there when I cover this thing. Yeah, what you can do is you can get a group rate at some of the hotels, and that might we shave a little bit of discount. I mean, you could have, you know, people could couple up, 2 females, 2 males, you know, married couple, that sort of thing. They had a victory dinner at a small hotel over it was in North Dakota, just across the bridge at a small like Skyway Hotel or something like that. Somebody rented a ballroom. They had like 50, 60 people there from what I could see. And that a lot of times I used to do round tables back in the old days where I'd run up to Atlanta and a bunch of us would get together. That used to be on CompuServe, and we'd get together and have a little bit of a round table. It's just a social thing, and we basically took over one corner of a restaurant. We had about 50, 60 people, and we just called the restaurant and said, well, we got a party of 50 coming, and they worked out a room for us. Didn't charge us for the room. Because we all paid for our own meals, but it was kind of nice how it worked out. And there was a local judge up there that handled everything for us, so it worked out good. Yeah, and Tim skipped out on the victory party. Turned out to be a loser party. And what's funny is Field McConnell and the so-called leaders of this little fiasco knew he wasn't going to show up because they had planned for it. He was already in his hiding place by the time the victory party came about. Well, what Field McConnell had is somehow he got his hands on the remaining copies of Tim's book. Tim self-published the book. He had like 500 copies of this thing, and Field was going to take him down to this, whatever it is, in March in Texas and sell the books. And, now that he's in jail, I don't know what's going to happen to all those books. Yeah, you could probably either rent a condo or maybe get on Airbnb or something like that and get something. So there's always that. Um, what's funny is in Florida in the summer, it's actually easy to rent because we're a winter destination state. People come down here for the winter and you can't get anything. And once the snowbirds leave and the Europeans go back over to Europe, you can get some decent prices because this summer in Florida is the worst time to be here. It gets incredibly hot. But the only other problem you have if you came down for spring break, then it'd be a disaster. So I'm hoping that this would be, I think it's going to be after spring break anyway. So if we can get by spring break, you'll be able to get something pretty reasonable. I don't know if the books were ever ordered destroyed. He just couldn't sell them. The Amazon used to sell the books, and a couple of other places, and he basically pulled them down. So the books cannot be published, or they cannot be sold, is what the court order said. Yeah, I've been in Texas in the summer. I know what it's like out there. You got mosquitoes out there the size of a truck. Sheesh. And the place smells like raw petroleum. And cow poop. World's biggest cow pies in Texas. But the nice thing about Fort Lauderdale, though, is a lot of times when you're by the beach and stuff, you always get a breeze coming in off the ocean. So it kind of helps. It's when you get inland that it gets a little warm. Yes, I did. I came across that by accident because it's up on the YouTube, and I was quite surprised to see how many cars he had. And he's got $1 million collection of cars because he's got one car there that's worth over $100,000. And like I said in my previous video, what I did, I had 3 divisions with STI Auto Sales, and one of the divisions is I was a broker for people that sold special interest in antique cars. And if I ever went up there, I could have those cars sold in a week because I used to sell to car collectors, and I used to sell from collectors to other collectors, individuals to collectors, and so on and so forth. So I dealt with antique cars for years, and he's got probably $1 million collection up there because I understand he's got 18 cars, and at least 2 of the cars I saw in the video are one's worth $100,000. The Chrysler Imperial convertible, the last time I checked, is running about $20,000, and so he's got $500,000, $1 million worth. I haven't seen all the cars, so I couldn't appraise them properly. But he's got a hell of a collection of cars. He could sell one car and pay all his debts. Yeah, you're correct, Ruby. K-Run. Those cars. So if he's got 18 cars, he's got a lot of money up there, and he could sell some of those cars and pay all his debts off and be clean as a whistle. And he's too stupid to do it. Well, I don't know. The thing of it is, Field McConnell has got a pension from the airline, and it's a pretty good amount of money. So, yeah, I have heard the mosquitoes in Alaska are something to behold. I have never been to Alaska, so I don't know. Now, I've been to North Dakota, and I'll tell you, they got some big suckers up there. So, good Lord. It's not a good place to be in Minot, North Dakota in the middle of summer, man. Those things will eat you alive. And I've been all over North and South Dakota, and they've got some wild mosquitoes up there. Went to Huron one time, and it's kind of an interesting place out there. I mean, it looks like it's in the middle of the desert. And yeah, I don't understand. Somebody that has the kind of money that Field McConnell had, how he managed to get himself in such a mess is beyond me. because he's got current income, he's got past income. He could get into he could get in the green with no problem at all. And he just the 1949 or 47 Chevrolet convertible. It's a post-war car, so the post-war cars, it's taken a while from them to climb up in value, but they're getting there, and depending on the condition of the car, a 47 Chevrolet convertible will be worth some pretty decent money. It depends on if it's a Bel Air or I can't think. I'd have to look at my records to see what kind of cars they came out with in that year. But they pretty valuable cars now. The let's see, what can I say? The timeline on when a car becomes a collectible or an essential interest cars is about 30 years. And it depends on production, depends on how many they came off. In other words, what I mean by production, the uniqueness of the car as far as styling, what the appeal was at the time, whether it's a sedan or convertible, or sedan or coupe, whether it's a convertible hardtop. There's all kinds of factors that goes into determining what a car is worth. And because it's like, there's Teslas that are collector's items, which is kind of strange. And there's modern cars that are collector's items, but because they were in limited production, they can go up in value. Yeah, that's the same rule we have down here. Don't, the best thing to use is unscented DEET. And it blocks the carbon dioxide, which is what attracts mosquitoes. Because they smell the carbon dioxide and they just go to it. It's really strange. Yeah, go on over there. Matter of fact, I'll stay on the air, but I'm going to bring him up on here, so it'll be like a simulcast. I won't put him in here, but I'll monitor him, and I can kind of comment. So let me get out of here. All right, just give me. Monograph Live. Okay. All right, it's not showing anything live, guys. Oh, here he is. Never mind. My bad. The 7 Serpent Secrets of the White House. What in the hell? And I've got a blank screen. I'm going to have to log off in order to be on him, apparently. So I'm going to go ahead and shut down, and I'm going to move over to Monty's. Because I'm in there. I just can't see him. So thanks for tuning in, guys. This is a pretty decent start tonight, even though I didn't have any... oh, God, the no sins, please. Oh, that's funny. I can see his chat, but I can't see him. It's really weird. Yeah, I think in order to see him, I'm going to have to log off. So I'm going to shut it down. Thanks a lot, guys. And we'll see you at Monty's.